Hey guys, James Joshua Otto here, and welcome to this video on the basics of compression. I've been wanting to do a series on production basics for a while now, and so I thought it would be a good place to start, as it's probably fair to say that compression is the thing that I most misunderstood when I first started producing music. So I thought what I'd do in this video is take a little look at the technical side of it, but look as well at the things that I've learnt along the way, and the lessons that I've learnt. So what is compression and what is it for? Imagine you're watching a movie at home when suddenly the sound for a particular scene is far louder than the previous scene, so you grab the remote and adjust the volume so that it's a bit more bearable and won't disturb the neighbours. Then when the noisy scene is done, you return the film back to its previous volume so that you can still hear what's going on. In that example, you are behaving like a compressor. The volume went over a specified level, was brought down accordingly, and then returned to the original volume once the louder section was over. Now, modern compressors have loads of different features usually, but there will be two main controls which affect the sound in the same way that we do when we're watching noisy films. And those two controls are the threshold and the ratio. The threshold is the level at which the compressor begins to take effect. So in our TV analogy, it's the point at which the sound becomes too loud. The lower the threshold, the more of the signal is affected. So consider if we were to compress the track that's playing behind this video. The lower the threshold, the more of the audio goes above that level, so the more of the sound we hear would be compressed. The ratio refers to the degree to which the audio that has exceeded the threshold is squashed. In our TV analogy, it's the amount that you turn the volume down when the sound gets too loud. If our compression ratio was 4:1, then for every 4 dB that the sound goes over the threshold, the output signal would be 1 dB over the threshold. Compression is invaluable in giving us more control over our recordings, especially with sounds that are tricky to mix, if they have peaks that particularly stick out and things like that. It's possible to use compression to iron out those peaks, meaning that the overall gain of the track can be increased. And this is the concept that I most misunderstood as a beginner. My limited understanding made me think that the main function of a compressor was just to enable you to make things louder, sound clearer, sound crisper. And it's true that they can do all of those things, but it's not a helpful way to think of them when you're applying them in your work. As we've seen, what compressors actually do is make the peaks quieter and reduce the whole dynamic range of the input signal. The most helpful concept to get my head around was that one of the greatest weapons in making things sound louder is contrast. Things sound louder in comparison to the things that surround it. The explosion or the loud scene that we're talking about wouldn't sound as loud if everything that was surrounding it was equally as loud, and it's the same with music. This is particularly true with soundtrack and classical music, but also true with things like commercial dance music and pop music, and I know John Sine mentions this in one of his brilliant videos. But the importance of contrast generally really can't be understated. Nowadays, when I'm writing and mixing, I try to use compression as little as possible. It's a tool to flatten sounds, not to make stuff louder. If I want to make something feel loud, then it's important to judge climactic moments within the context of the wider track. There are a few occasions where compression is invaluable though. For example, with vocals often sit front and center in the track that you're making, which means that they don't need to be subtle, they don't need to have the dynamic contrast that other instruments might need. And so with compression, you just get so much clarity, crispness, and you do get that loudness, so you can hear everything much more clearly. If I was to not use compression on this vocal recording, then my voice would sound far quieter, less crisp, less clear. And so compression actually is such a familiar sound within commercial audio generally, that just having it in your audio processing chain can make a lot of difference to making your vocals sound much more professional. Of course, there are loads of other useful uses for compression, but what I'm trying to say is it's not something to just use because you know it will sound better. I think it's a mistake that a lot of people often make, and I know I certainly did. So what I'm saying is that now I try and use compression as sparingly as I can. I basically don't use it unless I absolutely have to, or unless I really want a track to be really flat dynamically. It is incredibly useful when it's used appropriately. I'm still really learning what the right times are to use it. Needless to say, all of this stuff is stuff that I'm still learning. I don't claim to be an expert on all of this, but hopefully something in what I've said will be useful to some of you guys. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was useful. Just wanted to let you know that I've made a Patreon page where you can support me if you like what I'm doing, if you like these videos. Please subscribe if you've enjoyed it, and that really helps me out. And leave me a comment, let me know what you'd like to see next time. And yeah, thanks. I'll see you soon.